just remember 7th grade being a really hard year for me personally. I remember it being hard for my sisters. So I would just tell a 7th grader if they asked me about faith that God wouldn't put you in a situation He hasn't already equipped you to handle. And also to plug in to a church and find those friends that'll hold you accountable in your faith, and it just becomes so much more comforting knowing that God has your back in those situations.
I think I'd teach them to never give up, regardless of the bumps in the road. God always has a plan, and you gotta trust Him no matter what. Go by the verse Psalm 23. You're going to make it. Trust me. Is it? And then it's blunt, and it's necessary to know. So that's probably what I teach them.
I think I would teach a 7th grader that having faith in Jesus is what brings us hope and joy and comfort, and that just having faith in Jesus is what gets us through the hard times and the struggles of life.
I would just tell them just to keep trusting in God even through the toughest, lowest times, and that He's always there by your side.
Just really that God gives His toughest battles to His strongest warriors, and that's what makes you stronger over time, for sure.
One thing that I would teach a 7th grader about Jesus is that Jesus loves us so unconditionally that He sent His Son to die for us, and that we should also show Him that love, and that we should just trust His plan, and we should always glorify His name.
I would tell a 7th grader to never lose faith, and He's always with you even when times are tough.
So I would probably tell them like my experiences with God and just what I've learned from my faith and everything, and I'd probably just tell them that through your roughest times He's always going to be there. He's going to be your number one person that's always going to be with you no matter what, and you're always going to have Him to rely on.
I think I would just say that faith is sometimes very hard, especially in some scary moments and the things you go through, but you just have to know that God's always going to be there for you to lean on Him, even in your darkest moments.
I would say that you always need to rely on faith, even if, it's hard sometimes with different friends, and you need to always be able to rely on Him and surround yourself with godly people. I'd say for sure surround yourself with godly people, because that's what matters most is faith, and it helps when you surround yourself with godly people.
One thing that I would teach a 7th grader is that God's always going to be there for you no matter the situation or how bad it seems.
If I could relive one moment of a church event, it would have to be whenever me and my friends heard the song Let Your Light Shine for the first time at GA camp. We really got into the dance moves, the lyrics, and the accents for that, and it became our motto for who knows how long after that.
I'd say last year on the quote-unquote senior retreat, it wasn't really a senior retreat yet because we were juniors, but me and all my closest friends in my senior class, we put our phones up and we went and had s'mores and played games, and it was a really great time. It was great to unplug and really learn about what we need to learn about.
I definitely think I would relive the senior retreat that we had this past summer. I just loved that trip, and I just loved that I got to spend quality time with my classmates, and we all got to grow in our faith with Jesus, but we did it together.
I think I would have to say the time we went to Fort Lone Tree, and we were in the Zorb balls, I think it was, and the objective was to knock everyone else over or knock them out of the circle. And I think the person that I would want to be there with me would be my brother, just to see who would win, kind of.
Probably my baptism. It was just really a special moment for me, and my whole family was there, but of course I would want my whole family and probably my closest friends that weren't there. Not anyone in particular that I can think about right now or anytime, but yeah, those would be really special.
I would relive when me, Nate, Katie, the Gillums, and Kaysen all went to Glorietta. We all climbed up to the mountains and we built a fort. It was pretty dope, and the band there was just amazing, and we had a good time.
Probably when we were at the Sextons and Josh was chasing Nate around with the taser the whole time and Nate was screaming and running.
So let's see, this was like my 7th grade year, I think. We went to Glorietta. It was our first time there, and it was just me and Heather and some of the boys. And I remember my favorite thing there was the mud pit. It was the most fun thing. And our group also made like a fort in the little woods, like out of the trees and everything. And probably Heather. We had a great time there.
I think I would want to relive my baptism because I was so young whenever I experienced that, and I would just want it to be my close family like it was whenever it happened.
I would definitely say my baptism because it's such an important part of who I am today, and I don't know if I quite understood it yet, and I'd want to go back with all my friends and family there and just take it all in and make sure I really understand what it means to wash all my sins away.
Probably all the same guys. It goes to Glorietta Church Camp a couple years back. We had a hammock strung across the bunk beds, and we were running into the room and we hit the hammock and it pulled all the bunk beds down on top of us.
I have busted out laughing in church whenever Donovan put my dad's high school football stats up on the big screen and used them as an example in his sermon.
I actually don't think I have. I really thought, and I don't have like a story. I really don't.
You're very stoic at church.
I feel like it's definitely happened, but
Yeah.
I don't remember. So.
Yes, I have definitely busted out laughing at church before, and one time my phone buzzed and I peeked at it, and it was a teacher returning our grades. And this teacher may or may not have also been at church that day, but I'm not gonna name names because I would still like to graduate.
Yes, I don't remember when exactly, but I was like junior high probably. Me and my friend were sitting beside each other. I can't remember who it was exactly, but we were just drawing random stuff, just like any character, like from silly movies or whatever. And he just drew something that was just terrible. It was a bad drawing, and it was just so funny just because of how funny it looked.
Oh yeah. If you know anything about my family, we cannot be quiet whatsoever. So my dad completely, I think it was either Easter or Christmas. There was a whole bunch of people there, and my dad of course tried to help hold in his sneeze, but did not do that very well, and it made it 10 times louder, and we all busted out laughing. We could not just sit there, and then something else happened and it just made it even funnier, so it was really funny.
So me and Donovan have this way of greeting each other. When we make eye contact with each other, we give a little head nod, no matter where we are. At a basketball game, we'll just look at each other and be like, so. And so on Easter Sunday, during the Lord's Supper, me and Donovan made eye contact. So I gave him a little head nod, and he nonchalantly gave me one back. And he could not keep himself together. He was like trying not to smile, and I was just laughing. And after church, he texted me after and was like, thanks for almost making me laugh during church.
Yes. I was with Brady McCombs, and we were in Wednesday night church, and Brady might have had a couple too many energy drinks, and we could not look at each other and contain our laughter.
I honestly don't remember. If it was something, it was probably about Donovan mentioning he has no hair.
I don't think I have, because I feel like if I just busted out laughing, I would get in trouble. Like, I always grew up, you're not supposed to talk during the sermon or laugh, and so.
I'm sure I have multiple times with my friend group. I couldn't put it in an exact place, but I know for sure I have.
I've almost done so a whole lot of times, but recently I was laughing at Josh for falling out of his chair.
My biggest faith examples would have to be my parents. My mom can tie faith into any situation, and my dad holds me and my family accountable in our Christianity. They've taught me what it means to be a Christian, and they've taught me what it means to be a Christian, and it's comforting knowing that I can turn and look onto what they've taught me as I go into college.
I was gonna say Donovan and you, Josh, because Josh, you're always there for good events and great events. You're there to really just teach us what a role model needs in faith. Donovan's also always there, but he really shows us what it means to have faith in Jesus, regardless of where it is. I mean, I remember one time me and Donovan were in the dugout at a baseball game, and I think it was some guy that fell on the base path, and I was like, oh, I bet that hurt. He said, yeah, that's what happens when you don't read the Bible. So it made us laugh. It was a good time. I really enjoyed it.
My biggest faith example has definitely been my mom. She never fails to remind me to always have faith in Jesus and in every situation of life. And she's just my biggest role model, and I would like to be her one day.
I would say my parents, just because they've taught me the most and taught me a lot whenever I was younger about God and faith.
Well, I don't just have one person. My mom and my grandma are very strong in their faith. They've had a lot happen to them, and so definitely just like them being as strong as they are and still continuing their faith in everything that's happened, still, it's a big example to me, and that's what I hope to be for my kids or whatever one day. So
I would say that Donovan has both been my biggest faith example and taught me what it means to love Jesus, just because Donovan has just been the biggest example of loving Jesus unconditionally and just being a good role model for me.
Probably my parents. They've taught me most of the things I know about Jesus and work every day to keep me going in the right direction, following him.
So I would probably say my grandparents and my parents both, pushed it on me upon to learn about the Bible and told me everything I really needed to know and encouraged that relationship with God. And about this time about in June, late June, I think, when I was in the hospital, they really just kept encouraging me and telling me about God and just, I don't know, just being there for me. I don't know, they were the ones that really pushed it upon me.
At an early age, for me and my brother, my parents were always like, we're gonna go to church, we're gonna be in the church, and so I think it was mainly just my parents always having us in that church setting at a young age.
I would definitely say my mom, because even in our hardest time of my life and the hardest time of her life, she was able to fully lay everything at the foot of Jesus. And even when I was in the hospital bed throwing up and puking my guts out, she was able to read devotionals and help me be able to see that this is all in God's hand. And throughout my entire life, she is making sure we've gotten to church on not always on time, but we've been there. And even if I didn't grow up here, she has just been the biggest influential part of my faith. And I know that no matter what happens, she will always rely on Jesus and make sure that we do too.
My parents.